Hey everyone, and welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to share with all of you today. Today's date is September 27th, 2025, and it's Saturday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and I hope you're all having a wonderful weekend so far. We've got lots of big news to cover in today's update. We'll start out with a very big report out of Russia's Chuvashia Republic, where Ukrainian drones struck another oil pumping station connected to a major pipeline that runs through multiple Russian regions that are packed with military defense plants like drone production facilities. Let's talk about this new report here on your screen. Ukraine struck the Tingovotovo oil pumping station, disrupting the facility. In the morning, the head of the Chuvash region, Oleg Nikolayev, stated that the oil pumping station near Konar in the civil district of Chuvashia had come under attack. Now, it was a very interesting report. When this information came out, I was actually surprised that one of the governors of these regions actually confirmed this strike, because usually when we see any kind of an attack onto like an oil facility inside of Russia, we typically see these governors come out and say that it was like falling debris. They'll say it struck some sort of industrial facility, but they won't say exactly what it was. This governor actually came out and confirmed a direct hit on this facility of the Tingovotovo oil pumping station located in the Chuvashia region. I'd say approximately about 800 to 1,000 kilometers deep into Russia. This is connected to the Almatyevsk-Gorky oil pipeline. You can see right here on the photo that runs from multiple regions from the Nizhny Novgorod through the Chuvashia Republic on over to the Republic of Tatarstan, where you can see the city of Kazan. These are all major areas that Ukraine attacks repeatedly. A lot of defense plants are located over there. So we're going to talk more about that here in just a minute. I'll give you guys some more details on that strike. We also have information today that unknown UAV drones are being spotted in more European nations. Drone sightings at airports, military facilities, and over critical infrastructure is being reported across multiple NATO countries overnight. So this whole drone thing inside of Europe is really starting to spread. More nations are starting to report drone sightings and over critical military installations. So crazy what's happening over there. We still don't have any reports of these drones being shot down or anything like that. But I'm going to give you guys multiple updates regarding that situation in Europe. And also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy made very big statements today speaking to reporters. We're going to go over some things that he was saying. And then lots of other reports to cover as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to hop on over to X with Drone Bomber. And it says approximate flight routes of our UAVs. Red arrow indicates directions of strike UAVs. Blue arrow indicates directions of jet-powered UAVs. All route information is based on Russian sources. So here's the map coming out overnight, showing the different drones going into Russia. So we had your regular propeller-driven drones attacking into Russia, and also jet-powered drones. That's going to be these blue arrows that were heading into what looks like the Rostov Oblast. We had a lot of drones heading down towards Krasnodar and Stavropol as well, along with Crimea. But unfortunately, no reports down here on the southern side of Russia or occupied Crimea overnight on what was hit. Maybe we'll get more details later. But the only big reports regarding drone attacks inside of Russia overnight is going to be up here in the Chuvash Republic, located right next to Nizhny Novgorod right there, and the Republic of Tatarstan. So this is where we had that oil pumping station coming under attack, getting hit by Ukrainian drones, and allegedly getting knocked offline. And what we're hearing is that the oil flows through this pipeline running through these three regions is currently shut down due to this destruction of this pumping station. So we're going to talk more about that. Now, from Jurgen Audit, Russia has suspended operations at the Tingovotovo pumping station in the Chuvash Republic of the Russian Federation, located 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine, according to sources in the SBU. And according to the SBU, drones struck pumping station number 1, causing a fire. The transportation of oil through this pumping station is currently suspended. Long-range drones are active. So yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any video footage or confirmation of that through video to show you guys today, but we do have multiple reports, and Ukraine's military was confirming a direct hit on this pumping station, and then obviously the governor of that region was confirming it as well. So if I get video footage coming out later, I'll show you guys in a separate video, but this is again where it's going to be located here, the Chuvashia Republic, right in between the Republic of Tatarstan and also the Nizhny Novgorod region of Russia. Now moving on to another one from Ozin Technical. Overnight, Ukrainian drones Attack drones successfully struck the Tingobatovo pumping station on the Almatyevsk oil pipeline, a major supply link to Russian refineries in the western parts of the country. Per the local governor, the facility was damaged and pumping operations suspended. So here's just that picture that we had for you guys earlier. Just wanted to bring it up a little bit bigger to show you this major pipeline running through these three regions that apparently has been shut down after Ukrainian drones struck that oil pumping station. Here's another post from Ozone Technical again, and he's sharing the report from Oleg Nikolaev. That's going to be that governor of the Chuvashian Republic on Telegram. He says this morning, an attempt to use unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs was detected in the Chuvash Republic from Ukraine. The strike targeted an oil pumping station near the village of Konar in the Sivilisky, if I'm saying that right, district. There is no threat to the population and no casualties were reported. Minor damage was caused. Operations at the facility have been suspended, okay? So it is shut down according to him. Our entire emergency response system is in full operation, and we are keeping the situation under full control and are taking all necessary measures to ensure the safety of the region and its residents. So yeah, very interesting because again, we don't get a whole lot of confirmation very often from these governors of these regions when we get confirmed strikes from Ukraine. A lot of times Ukraine will say, oh, we struck an oil refinery or an oil depot or something like that. And then a lot of times the governors of these regions will just say, oh, we shot down a drone and falling debris caused a fire at some sort of industrial facility. So I thought it was interesting that he was stating that. Then we've got the coordinates here of this pumping station location. It says roughly 1,000 kilometers from Ukraine. Here's just a picture from Google Maps to show you guys this actual facility that came under attack, the Tingovatovo oil pumping station. And then also here's a map to kind of show you as well where it is located, okay? Not too far away from Moscow as well, just a little bit to the east. Now let's talk about these drone sightings inside of Europe that are starting to expand. So Vicegrad 24 breaking. Denmark announces that unknown drones were spotted over several military facilities last night. The country's main airbase, Karup, which houses Denmark's F-16s and F-35s, was also paid a visit by the drones. So what is going on, guys? We're continuing to see these drones invading into Denmark. This is actually, I think, 4 times this week, 3 to 4 times that we had reports of drones going into Denmark. And again, this is going to be over sensitive military sites. In this case, where F-35s are located at the airbase in Karup. Okay, and the F-35s we know are capable of carrying nuclear weapons as well. So that is not good to see that we continue having these drone sightings over these European nations. And I really wonder, why are these drones not being shot down? They're being reported across numerous nations today, but still not a single drone has been taken down due to safety concerns, what the authorities are saying in Europe. They don't want to risk shooting down one of these drones and maybe somebody gets harmed or something. But at the same time, imagine the security risk here. What if these things are gathering some very important intelligence? And if it is Russia doing this, for example, they might be able to use this to strike these facilities or attack NATO at some point in the future, being used as retaliation, or if a war begins between NATO and Russia. So very concerning. Now Vicegrad 24 breaking. Several unknown drones spotted over Orland airbase in Norway. It's NATO's main airbase in Norway and also home to the country's F-35 fighter jets. So yeah, not only in Denmark did we have an airbase with F-35s based over there, but also in Norway. And actually, back towards the beginning of this week, when we had drone sightings reported, it was mainly inside of Denmark and Norway. So this is still continuing inside of Norway. This is multiple reports out of there this week, and yet another major airbase with nuclear-capable F-35. So not good news to see there. Now from Jürgen Audit. During the night, several drones were detected near the Swedish Navy's main base in Karlskrona, southern Sweden. Eyewitnesses reported flying objects around 8:30 p.m. in the Karlskrona archipelago region, including near the Maklosund Bridge, if I'm saying that right, approximately 10 kilometers from the base. Police confirmed the sightings that described 2 large drones with red and green lights. Broadcaster SVT reported extensively, quoting police spokesperson Matthias Lundgren. No attempts to shoot down or remove the drones. None of the drones were shot down or removed. Police are investigating the incident as a violation of aviation law, but were unable to take immediate action. This is a larger variant, similar to other sightings. Swedish police see a clear connection to recent drone sightings in Denmark. over Copenhagen Airport and Aalborg, and Norway over Oslo Airport and military installation. The drones are similar in size, appearance, and timing. These incidents have led to airport closures in recent days and are being viewed in the context of rising tensions with Russia, including similar incidents in Poland, Estonia, and Romania. So now in Sweden as well, and lots more reports. We also know there's a major naval base located down here near Karlskrona. And there was actually reports, I think, just yesterday also that there were drones being spotted near this naval base. So it's like multiple times we're hearing reports down here. And something that I was thinking about is, what if this isn't Russia doing this? What if these are NATO drones, and NATO's trying to cover this up and say that this is Russia doing this? Now, why would NATO deploy their own drones over these military installations? Who knows? I have no idea, but you guys can let me know what you think on that. But it was something that I was thinking as well, as what if this is possibly NATO doing this to maybe protect these sensitive areas or something, or maybe they're monitoring or searching for something. I don't really know. But if it isn't NATO doing it, is it possibly Russia, or is it maybe some other nation? But we know there's a lot of tensions between NATO and Russia right now, and that's why NATO is currently investigating to see if Russia has any connection due to these drone sightings. So let me know what you think on that. Now, Faytug's network. Multiple pilots reported a drone near the Polderbaan runway at Amsterdam Schiphol, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, airport this afternoon around 12:10. I think that's like PM today in Netherlands. Flights were rerouted as a precaution, Dutch authorities confirmed. So even the Netherlands seeing some sort of drone sightings over airports as well. So you can see it's expanding everywhere. First, it was mainly just Denmark and Norway. Now it's just going all over the place. We've got more nations to go over as well, but also the Netherlands seeing drones here also. Now, Bliskovka, unknown drones were spotted in Lithuania and Finland, according to media reports. In the Vilnius district, police noticed 3 UAVs near the airport, causing it to be temporarily closed. In Finland, police reported a drone over the hydroelectric power plant, even though the country declared no-fly zones over energy infrastructure back in August. At the same time, Latvian authorities warned of possible GPS disruptions in the country's airspace, with the warning remaining in effect until the morning of October 21st. Okay, so we can see even Finland and also Lithuania experiencing drones as well. I mean, this is really getting crazy and out of hand, guys. Like, why is there no action being taken here? NATO is just sitting back, very complacent, not responding to these drone sightings, not shooting these down or engaging them in any way, allowing these things to gather up intelligence or whatever they might be doing. And if it is Russia, that's obviously very dangerous to NATO, right? The Russians don't need any troops on NATO soil if they've got these drones, and NATO's not going to respond to it. They can easily gather up intelligence with these drones to use for a potential attack down the road. Now, conflict radar breaking: unidentified drones spotted in northern Germany, according to NDR. Yeah, this information came out yesterday afternoon also, that in northern Germany, in the, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Schleswig-Holstein region, okay, close to Denmark, also right here. Drones were being spotted in this area, so Germany even seeing drones as well. Now from Red Alert, breaking: Germany's interior minister says authorities have observed a rise in drone activity over parts of the country. They're saying parts of the country, so multiple areas of Germany apparently, not just northern Germany like what was being reported yesterday. They're seeing drone activity. So it's happening all over the place, guys, really starting to expand. Multiple areas of Germany, they're seeing drones being spotted in the skies. All right, now from NOAA reports: wreckage of a large drone was found in Liutma Nature Reserve, Parnu County. Kapoa Police and Border Guard and Rescue Department are investigating. Officials say there is no evidence it entered Estonian airspace or carried explosives. Probe ties into the 2022 case. Yeah, so apparently we had another drone being found crash landing inside of a nature reserve in Estonia. And yeah, we typically don't see about drones, landing inside of Estonia. We've heard of reports of drones in like Latvia and also Lithuania, which is a little bit closer to Ukraine. But way up here in Estonia, they found a drone as well. I'm not sure if it was some type of attack drone, like let's say a Gerber drone or maybe a Shahed drone from Russia. We don't really know yet. But considering the fact with all these other drone sightings that are taking place inside of Europe, maybe it was one of these drones that were found, but we're still waiting for more details on that. But yeah, apparently a drone crash landing inside of Estonia as well. Now Max 25. Military full house in the skies of Europe. 11 tanker aircraft are supported by fighter jets patrolling NATO airspace. Yeah, so last night there was reports of just about close to a dozen these refueling tankers across Europe in multiple areas. Now, we do know from the 22nd to the 26th of September, there was a major NATO military exercise going on called Neptune Strike that I heard about. So it's possible that maybe considering this was the last day of the Neptune Strike military exercise that was being carried out. Maybe that's what these planes were connected to. But you can see they were all over the place over Poland here, right here around Kaliningrad as well, Lithuania, Sweden, and then also over here closer to like France, off the coast of Spain over here also, and then over here near Italy. So yeah, they were just flying all over the place last night. I'm assuming it was part of that NATO exercise, but maybe it wasn't. We'll have to see and get more details. But a lot of people were concerned last night because it could have been possible escalation with this war against Russia. As we know, at any moment, something could definitely pop off. Now, Max 25. Merz said that talks about peaceful life in Germany are over. He explained that due to the increase in the number of hybrid attacks on critical infrastructure and cyber networks, the country has ceased to live in peaceful conditions. So, yeah, this was Friedrich Merz, the German chancellor, today stating that apparently peaceful time inside of Germany is over. He did say they're not at war with Russia, but they're definitely not at peace anymore. So it's obviously in that kind of gray area that any moment we could have a major war breaking out. And we've been kind of seeing this from the German chancellor. He's been stating a lot of things like this, kind of drumming up the population and getting them ready for potential escalation or war with Russia. And I think it is right to do because, there's a lot of tensions right now. Anything could really happen. I think it is important for nations to be prepared and ready to go if this war kicks off, because once it gets going, there's no stopping it. So it looks like we continue to see the German chancellor warning the population that war is on the horizon. Now from Sean Pinner, Russians struck the ATB grocery supermarket in Zaporizhia. They're wounded. Just like Mariupol, Russia has no moral bar. Please explain to me how a supermarket is a military installation. Yeah, 2 times in 1 week we've reported the company ATB located inside of Ukraine that's runs supermarkets being attacked. Look at this video. All right, so I have to agree with Sean Pinner here. What is the significance of this strike? Why would Russia go after grocery market? We have seen pretty much Russia attacking every type of critical infrastructure inside of Ukraine. It doesn't matter what the target is. Russia will destroy everything inside of Ukraine. So they blew up again another one of these ATB supermarkets, just like what happened earlier this week. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday that I had reported that to you guys. Now they struck another one here in Zaporizhia, and I heard Zaporizhia was being bombed heavily just over the last 24 hours. All right, now from Bliskovka. As a result of Russian shelling of Donetsk region, 1 person died, 9 were injured, according to the Ministry of Internal Affairs. 12 settlements were under attack, 111 civilian objects were damaged, including 76 residential buildings. All right, this is going to be in the southeastern side of Ukraine in the Donetsk region, much closer to the front line. Heavy attacks being reported over here. We can see numerous houses being blown up. This is yet again more reports inside of Ukraine of people's homes being destroyed, even though the Russians state that they don't go after civilian objects. Look at all these apartment buildings here being hit by Russian drones and bombs. Heavy destruction reported inside of the Donetsk region today in southeastern Ukraine. Now from UA Voyager, don't look away. Russians are bombing Kherson's neighborhoods with KABs. Those are guided aerial bombs full of cluster bombs. Russia is a terrorist state. It's time the world called it like it is. Yep, I'd have to agree with that. And look at these massive strikes taking place in the city of Kherson down in southern Ukraine, very close to where Crimea is at. This is an area that sees heavy shelling pretty much every day. Artillery goes into the city. Bombs are being dropped here all the time. FPV drones are chasing people down the streets. The Russians have been leveling Kherson for years now. And we still know they want to carry out some sort of amphibious style landing over here. They haven't been able to achieve that. The Russians are still trying to attack this city. But just look at these heavy strikes over here with these cluster munitions on what looks like what could potentially be a heavily populated area. There's lots of buildings over here. What are the Russians going after? But they're definitely striking some civilian areas over here located in the city of Kherson. Very terrible to see that. Now you're Gnaudit. If the Russians are threatening a blackout in the Ukrainian capital, they should know that there will be a blackout in Moscow as well, Zelenskyy stated. So these are statements that he made to journalists today. And yeah, calling on Russia and saying if you knock out our power in our capital, you will have a blackout in Moscow as well. So directly threatening Vladimir Putin. Says the president gave a briefing for journalists after his visit to New York. And here's some of the key points. One of the things he stated here, the Israeli Patriot system has been deployed in Ukraine for a month. We'll receive 2 more Patriot systems this fall. Okay, so that's confirmation that the Israelis have been supplying Patriot air defense systems over to Ukraine. Apparently, they'll be getting 2 more of these by the end of the year. Also, on September 10th, Russia attacked Poland with 92 drones. Only 19 managed to cross the Polish border, and the rest were shot down. Can you imagine if 92 drones attacked into Poland? How would NATO have to respond to that? And imagine the amount of damage that could have caused if Ukraine did not have such good air defense systems to destroy a lot of these. We know that only 19 managed to cross into Poland, and apparently the Polish Air Force, along with NATO allied forces, were only able to shoot down 4 out of 19. So can you imagine if 92 went into Poland? They probably would have only shot down like 10. That is absolutely crazy. We could have seen possible World War III happening after those 92 went into Poland if Ukraine was not able to disable or destroy all of those. So that is crazy news if that happens to be the case. Also says Ukraine has handed over a list of weapons worth $90 billion to Trump, but is also willing to enter into individual agreements, particularly regarding the Tomahawks. Yeah, so Tomahawk cruise missiles, we talked about that yesterday, that Ukraine might be receiving some. Apparently, there's a $90 billion weapons deal right now on the table between the U.S. and Ukraine. If that happens to go into effect and Ukraine's able to receive that, that's going to be a lot of heavy weapons for Ukraine. And we're still hearing that possibly Ukraine could receive these Tomahawk cruise missiles with a 2,400 kilometer range that could easily strike into Moscow and other critical targets inside of Russia. Also says Ukraine currently lacks the resources for complete decolonization, but the U.S. will help prevent Russia from achieving its goals. And also a fund has been established under the Middle Agreement. Prime Minister Srividenko will hold negotiations with U.S. companies in October. Okay, so yeah, that was Zelenskyy speaking to reporters today. So some huge statements coming out. Let me know what you think on those. Let's move on to another one now. Ukrainian review. Ukraine will soon offer Slovakia alternatives to Russian gas and oil, according to Zelenskyy. I've agreed with Prime Minister Fico. I'm not against it, but on the contrary, I support the meeting of our governments, which will take place, I think, also in October. Okay, so we're hearing that, Trump wants Slovakia and Hungary to stop buying Russian oil. Hungary already came out and said, we can't do it. We're landlocked. There's no way. Ukraine apparently wants to offer Slovakia their oil to get around for purchasing Russian oil. So that could be a good step in the right direction. If Slovakia accepts that, then we just got to deal with Hungary to get them to stop purchasing Russian oil. That way the EU and the United States can move forward with these sanctions. So that is very good news to hear coming out from Ukraine today. Now, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine. America stands with Ukraine and we feel it. We thank the people of the United States, President Trump, and also First Lady Melania Trump for their attention to Ukrainians, to our children, to our people. We stand together, and that means life will be protected and peace and security will be closer. So that's a really good statement to see coming out from Zelenskyy on X today. So he's claiming that apparently relations between the United States and Ukraine is very strong, and he's saying that America stands with Ukraine. So that is very good to see, at least for right now. Trump is definitely on Ukraine's side, and I'm sure a lot of people are happy to see that. Hopefully we don't see him flipping back to Putin sometime in the future, but we did hear recently a statement from Zelenskyy stating that apparently Putin had lied to Trump about something or gave him some sort of false information that made Trump feel like he couldn't trust Putin. That's why he's turning towards Zelenskyy, and he trusts Zelenskyy more than he trusts Putin right now. So we're seeing a lot more support from the U.S. administration for Ukraine as a result of that. Now, Kiev Post, Russian troops have already suffered over 3,000 losses in the Dobropolya counteroffensive alone. Putin is lying when he claims his forces are achieving their objectives. So the Dobropolya counteroffensive, that's going to be in the southeastern side of Ukraine in the Donetsk region, where the Russians just about a month and a half ago, I'd say, made a major breakthrough. We're starting to punch through Ukrainian lines. Then we heard Ukraine deployed multiple corps to that area, completely shut down this offensive, cut off the Russians, surrounded them in multiple areas. And there's like 3 different areas as of yesterday that the Russians are completely surrounded at. They're taking on heavy losses here, and according to Zelenskyy, over 3,000 losses have been taken by the Russian side just in this Dobropilya counteroffensive. So that is crazy news. If that happens to be the case, that's a lot of heavy losses for Russia. Now from Andriy Sybiha. For the blind Hungarian officials, exact route of yesterday's drone incursion from Hungary into Ukrainian airspace. Our armed forces have gathered all the necessary evidence. We are still waiting for Hungary to explain what this object did in our airspace. So we had reports yesterday that Hungarian drones were violating Ukrainian airspace near the border. So this is going to be where Hungary's at, and then this is Ukraine, where this kind of light gray area is. So apparently these were the flight paths of these two drones. There was one here right on the borderline, and then also deeper into Ukraine and some of these other cities. There was another drone kind of flying around some sensitive locations. So we're still waiting for more details, but they're calling on Hungary to explain this. This is going to be the foreign minister, by the way, out of Ukraine, Andriy Sybiha. They want an explanation for these drones. What were these things doing over here? And they believe that Hungary was spying on Ukraine. And this is the second time that Hungary has been accused of spying on Ukraine. Just a few months back, we had reports that there was multiple spies that were actually captured inside of Ukraine, and they were trying to spy on Neptune missile launch sites as well. So not sure what's going on with that, but looks like Ukraine's still trying to investigate and get information from Hungary. Now, Anton Gerashenko, Russia is secretly preparing sabotage operations around the British Isles, studying underwater communications, according to the Financial Times. This threatens Europe's internet, energy supply, and military communications. The Russian intelligence vessel Yantar operated in European waters for 3 months, gathering data on undersea cables vital for the internet, energy supply, and NATO's military communications. The ship circled Norway, passed through the English Channel, entered the Irish Sea, and moved towards the Suez Canal, distinguishing itself as a civilian vessel. Yantar is equipped with devices capable of intercepting data from cables and placing explosives. Its crew is highly qualified, including officers with submarine service experience. Putin is moving toward active sabotage preparations, creating maps of routes, and installing underwater beacons. So here's the Financial Times reporting this today. It says Yantar's movements over critical seabed infrastructure. So apparently journeys were detected in 2024 and 2025. So this year and last year, that's going to be these yellow little lines right here where apparently this vessel was traversing at. You can see especially over some of these critical areas where there's a lot of underwater sea cables. This is something that's been reported a lot recently over the last year or so. Reports of underwater sea cables being damaged many times. NATO trying to figure out whether this connection to Russia, sometimes even China. So yeah, apparently even journeys were being detected in 2021. That's going to be these orange lines here as well over these critical cables. And possibly this vessel is trying to destroy or detect where these underwater sea cables are at. And we know that if a war kicks off, that's most likely going to be a major goal for Russia, is to knock out NATO's communications. And in order for them to do that, they got to locate where all these cables are at and be ready to destroy them with some of these vessels, possibly placing explosives under the water. So very dangerous situation. We continue to hear more escalation here between NATO and Russia and possible damage to more underwater sea cables. Now, Noel reports NATO sources told Iltalehti, if I'm saying that right, that Sweden's Norrbotten brigade will form the core of the new NATO brigade in Finnish Lapland, numbering 4,000 to 5,000 troops. The unit specialized in winter warfare will be backed by Swedish Archer howitzers pre-positioned in Rovaniemi and Sodankiela, if I'm saying that right also. Norway and Denmark will also contribute, making it largely a Nordic force. The brigade's headquarters will be in Rovaniemi and Sodankiela, commanded by a Swedish officer. Britain will limit its role to staff officers as its ground troops remain focused on Estonia. Okay, so it looks like Sweden's going to be backing up Finland, and obviously Finland is going to be a major frontline nation if a war breaks out. So Sweden wants to send troops into Finland, about 4,000 to 5,000, forming a new brigade over there. So very good news to hear that they want to bolster Finland's defenses in case we see an attack onto NATO. Here's more information regarding Finland and Sweden also from Slava. Swedish troops have been put on alert. As soon as tensions escalate, they will arrive at the border with the Russian Federation in Finland. Sources from Iltalehti. Kind of hard to pronounce the name of that in NATO. Okay, so Yeah, we're hearing also that that Sweden's forces, their military, is ready to deploy directly to the border of Finland. So it's going to be Sweden right here. Here's Finland, and then this will be Russian territory. We know the Russians have a lot of different military bases, installations right on the border with Finland. They've been expanding a lot of military installations over here as well. So if we happen to see some sort of confrontation, Finland could definitely be under attack by the Russians, and Sweden wants to be ready to deploy their troops directly into Finland quickly and support their border. So that is good news to see that Sweden is getting ready for the possibility of war and also to defend Finland, which will be right on the front line. Now, military news UA, Oreshnik has already been deployed in Belarus, the country's foreign ministry confirmed. Okay, this report came out yesterday, actually, that apparently the Oreshnik medium-range ballistic missile has been deployed into Belarus. We heard that by this fall, that Belarus would be receiving this system from Russia. So apparently they do have this now. We don't know how many of these they have. We haven't even seen one of these actually being detonated, or at least a real one yet. Still a lot of threats that potentially these could be used inside of Ukraine. But apparently the Belarusians have these now, and they could be stationed throughout their country. So they confirmed that yesterday. So that's very big news. All right, now from Noel Reports, Kremlin Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Maria Zakharova claims Kiev plans a false flag using repaired Russian ground drones to hit NATO transport hubs in Poland and Romania, alleging the UAVs were fixed in Lviv and moved to Yavoriv. Stop drinking, Maria, says Noel Reports. So interesting story, and this actually broke yesterday afternoon. This is Maria Zakharova on Telegram. I do apologize, it's not in English. It's in Russian. But yeah, she was alleging that apparently the Ukrainians were repairing ground drones that crashed inside of their territory. These are basically equivalent to Shahed drones that come from Iran. And apparently they'd repair them, and they're most likely preparing some sort of provocative attack onto NATO, primarily inside of Poland and Romania, to drag NATO into the conflict and say, oh, this was Russia that did this, but really it was Ukraine that launched these drones. Now, hopefully that wouldn't be the case, but this is what the Russians are stating, and we know that a lot of times when the Russians say things like this, it's usually something they're preparing to carry out. So I wonder if the Russians are preparing an attack onto more NATO nations, for example, Poland or Romania. We have seen drones go into these territories before, and these are both NATO members. So hopefully that won't be the case, but it's very possible we could see drones going into some of these NATO member states here very soon. Now, Kiev Post, a Fukushima-type scenario is possible at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The Guardian reported, citing IAEA experts. For the third consecutive day, Ukraine's largest nuclear power plant has had no external electricity supply. Cooling and safety systems are operating solely on diesel generators after the last power line was cut. Experts warn that if the cooling systems fail, the reactors could overheat and the nuclear fuel could melt down. Oh no, that is not good. Safety fears as external power to Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant still out after 3 days. Ukrainian officials among those concerned Russia's manufacturing crisis to keep hold of frontline plant. Yeah, so apparently we're hearing for several days now the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant has lost connection to the power grid. And apparently, from what I heard, the Russians shelled one of these power lines and the power is cut off. We've heard that numerous times, actually, the Russians attacking power lines over here. There was only like one power line connected to this plant. Now there is none. And it's completely running on diesel generators. So if there happens to be, we're already hearing about a shortage of diesel fuel and, gasoline inside of Russia. So that's not good to hear. If they happen to run out of diesel to power these generators, or if these generators go down for some reason, we could see a nuclear meltdown over here and a possible nuclear incident. So that is not good news to hear about and very dangerous. And considering that this Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant is right in the middle of a war zone, that makes this even more scary. And we have seen reports of drones crashing over here sometimes, even shelling from artillery very close to this plant. So we could be on the verge of a very big nuclear accident over here with the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. But let's hope that is never the case. Now, Igor Sushko, Russia. Russian news confirmed 25% of oil refining capacity is offline from Ukrainian strikes. 27,000 tons of surplus crude oil daily with nowhere to go. 50% of gas stations in occupied Crimea out of business. 14.2% of gas stations shuttered in the Southern Federal District. This is crazy. This is how bad it is inside of Russia that even the Russian media can't hide it no more. How bad it's getting. Russian media is actually reporting the losses here in fuel supplies at a lot of these regions, especially in these what they call the Southern Federal District down here. We've got Krasnodar, Rostov, okay, all these major regions that we talk about being attacked. Also Crimea. They're talking about 50% of gas stations just in Crimea alone out of business. And we've been seeing numerous videos. There was new video actually coming out from Simferopol today showing more lines at gas stations. So that confirms that. 14.2% of gas stations just in the Southern Federal District shut down due to the shortage of fuel supplies. So Ukraine striking all these oil refineries is really creating a havoc inside of Russia. They are struggling to find fuel from anywhere. And at the same time, all these oil pipelines are getting shut down, which is affecting oil exports from many major ports, like the one that would be located down here in the Krasnodar region, the Novorossiysk port, which has been attacked recently. An oil pipeline connected to that area has been shut down. Just crazy the amount of information with oil infrastructure located inside of Russia being destroyed. Now, military news UA, the Russian submarine Novorossiysk and the small missile ship Vishny Voloshek suffered serious accidents. One accident occurred in the Mediterranean Sea, the other in the Azov region. The submarine Novorossiysk has critical damage to the fuel system, as a result of which fuel began to flow directly into the hold. The crew has neither the necessary spare parts nor qualified specialists on board to eliminate the malfunction. The small missile ship Vishny Voloshek collided with a civilian tanker, which resulted in serious damage. The accident occurred on August 7th, 2025 in the Temuruk Bay of the Sea of Azov while performing combat missions. So wow, Russia just having worse luck day by day with their aviation industry. You know, we hear sometimes even some of the Russia's strategic bombers can't even take off from some of these airfields due to repairs that they need. Their aviation industry is falling apart. They're having issues with their Navy now, like this submarine that apparently has some sort of issue with fuel. Now they're stuck out there in the Mediterranean Sea. We've also got this other naval ship as well, this small missile ship that apparently collided with another vessel. So major damage to that. And we know that Russia, due to sanctions, doesn't have a lot of supplies to repair many of these equipment. Okay, a lot of these vehicles, they are unable to fix them. So not good news to hear for Russia, right? They continue to have more issues with their Navy, with their Air Force as well. And it's getting worse day by day for Russia. Now from Bliskovka, Air Defense Forces of Ukraine destroyed 97 out of 115 Russian UAVs in the north, south, and east and center of the country. Ukrainian Air Defense Forces recorded 17 strike UAVs at 6 locations, as well as a fall of debris in 2 locations. The attack continues with new groups of attack UAVs in the north. So here's a report, the amount of drones going into Ukraine. So pretty much every day this week, we've had anywhere between like 100 and 150 drones per night. Last night, in this case, 115, but Ukrainian Air Defense Forces apparently destroyed 97 out of those. So their numbers are getting better and better by the day. If you notice here, it's like getting closer to like 90% or more per day. Especially this week, we've been seeing really high numbers of destruction of these drones. So yeah, there wasn't too much reports of drones destroying anything critical inside of Ukraine. A lot of the attacks that were reported were actually due to like guided aerial bombs, cluster munitions like in Kherson today. So very good to see from Ukraine's air defense forces. Now from Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of September 27th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update, Russia's losses as of September 27th, 970 troops, 1 AFV, 91 vehicles and fuel tanks, 1 tank, 39 artillery systems, 362 UAVs, 1 MLRS, 2 special equipment, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. Okay, so we got another air defense system being destroyed over the last 24 hours. Very good to see there. Multiple launch rocket system. Yesterday, I think we finally had a day where there wasn't one being destroyed. We usually see 1 or 2 of these per day lately. Also 39 artillery systems, pretty good numbers on those. Tanks and AFVs, still very low numbers here. We've been seeing almost nothing for these categories for a while now. Vehicles and fuel tanks, about average numbers. Same with troop losses. We've been seeing right about 950 or so on average for a few weeks. So guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's update on September 27th, 2025 on Saturday, and I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. Just a kind reminder, I most likely will not be here tomorrow unless something crazy goes down, as usually I take Sundays off each week to spend some time with myself and my family. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell, that way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.